everyone, welcome to another 2v2 battle. This theme is going to be Sigvald's Beauties, because damn, didn't he surround himself with some beautifully attractive, just awesome hairdresser type of units here. So we have two Chaos spawn, we have a Troll unarmored, we also have some two Chaos Warhounds with poison over here. We have the beautiful Hell Cannon. I mostly brought this just to try and test it out, because I just wanted to see if it does well or not. We also have three groups of Forsaken, which again are just gorgeous, as is Sigvald. And then we also have two groups of Warriors with Halberds, and then two Chaos Marauders. These Chaos Warriors are kind of just filling out the ranks. To get a full theme going of the Beauties, I probably would have to have more Forsaken for our infantry, but that's just kind of becomes spam at some point, and I don't really want to do that. So I fill out our ranks with two Chaos Marauders, and then these Warriors with Halberds specifically to fight anything that is large, because there's not much we have that can counter large. At least in this army. Our Chaos Knights could probably help, but they didn't really fit with the theme, so we just brought those Poison Warhounds. My ally over here brought a Goblin Chariot, which I never see, so it's cool to see it. I need to use it more often to see how viable it is. We also have four Orc Boys. We have a Giant, a Orc Shaman on a Boar. We have two Night Goblin Archers, which I like. A Black Orc, two Doom Diver Catapults, Azag on his beautiful beast up there. And then we also have two Savage Orc Boar Boys. Our opponents, which are currently charging us, are two Vampire Counts. We have Manfred on a Dragon. We have multiple Skeletal Spearmen, a lot of them. Crypt Ghouls, multiple Graveguard. They are normal Graveguard. Two normal Black Knights, two Black Knights with Barding. We have Manfred up here, along with a Vampire mounted on their Hell Steeds. Front line of four Zombies, a Crypt Ghoul, two Black Knights back here, four Crypt Horrors, four Crypt Guards, or sorry, Grave Guards, two of which have the Great Weapons. So from the beginning of the fight, I know that the ones that I'm going to be worrying about the most are going to be the Grave Guard with the Great Weapons. So I assigned my Hell Cannon to try and fire at them as they approach. And seeing that we have the two Vampire Flyers, I kind of know what to expect at this point. I'm dreading it, to be honest, because it probably means we're going to get Spirit Leeches and like Fate of Bunas. So I'm kind of just expecting that at this point. This opponent charges pretty quickly, so what I try and do here is move into a position where we can support their left flank, as well as fighting off my opponent as well. There goes the Hell Cannon again. And here we go. The first Spirit Leech dropped on Sigvald. I don't have anything to answer the anti-air, and real quick, it's kind of hard to answer air with Warriors of Chaos. I think your best bet, and I may go over this after the battle, would just to bring mounted heroes, but again, we'll go after that later. But yeah, there is the Spirit Leech dropped on Sigvald. We have some Orc Boys charging into these Crypt Ghouls. Over here, these two Boar Boys, unfortunately, did not get a charge off, so they got charged by two Black Knights each, and so you can see they've kind of paid for it right here. We also have Manfred. The Doom Diver Catapults are firing over into these Graveguard, which is a great choice. Great choice, great target. And then we're sending some Orc Boys over here to help them. On my side here, I am sending a group of Forsaken to help with this infantry clump. I'm also going to be sending a Chaos Spawn and our Trolls to try and help my ally over here, because this opponent brought a lot of infantry, so I thought, you know, maybe they could help them out a little bit. We also have a Spirit Leech being dropped on Manfred by Azag over there. You can see our lines are about to meet. I have a second Spirit Leech being dropped on Sigvald. And we're going to try and hit the right flank pretty hard while supporting our allies' left flank. So Chaos Warriors are going in, along with these Forsaken and more Warriors. But we get into their Zombies first because they pull back the Graveguard, which is a good choice. Trying to get Sigvald up here to the front lines. Here are our Forsaken going against the Crypt Ghouls, along with the Giant over here. And there go our Spawn, and our Trolls are getting in position to attack. Over here, the group of Boar Boys are routed at this point, and these Orc Boys were surrounded, and unfortunately they're going to be routing as well. Some Graveguard approaching over here, and they're going to be going up against these Black Orcs, which are a very sturdy unit, while they're still getting fired upon by these Doom Diver Catapults, and our Spawn are nearby as well, and the Night Goblins. No! A third Spirit Leech gets dropped on Sigvald. Charge them! I send my Spawn over here to assist our Chaos Marauders because they are being outnumbered and outgunned. You get a okay hit against these zombies when I was aiming against the Graveguard. And over here, my Chaos Warriors with Halberds are going to get against these Cryptors, and they're going to do a lot of damage, which is what they're there to do. I hit them with the Plague of Rust to bring down their armor even more, although that was kind of a bad call. I shouldn't have put Plague of Rust on them. They have low armor to begin with. Sigvald gets hit with a Force Spirit Leech. I'm bringing our other Chaos Warriors around to the side to hit these Cryptors. Meanwhile, over here, these Night Goblins have been routed by the Black Knights because they are now free to roam the area because the Savage Orc Boar Boys were taken out. Doomdiver Catapult still getting a lot of good hits against these clumps of infantry. Azag in the middle of these Graveguard along with the Black Orcs to try and fight against these Spearmen, which they are just destroying because they're Black Orcs and these are Skeletal Spearmen. And that's bound to happen. My Chaos Spawn get caught up in these Black Knights. Not their ideal fight. I was trying to get around to the Graveguard, but I got caught up by them, so they're going to be duking it out there. And our Forsaken and Giants and Orc Boys are doing pretty good against this clump of infantry over here, but the Vampire Counts, they don't rout. They fight to the bitter end, so it's going to be a while until they can drop.
Attack the mortals!
The Graveguard with great weapons are going to get into our Chaos Warriors, which is not going to help us at all. Now you can see, I was aiming with the Hell Cannon this entire time against these Graveguard, and they've only lost 22. 22. We'll go over that more in a bit. But you can see my Chaos Warriors are going to get kind of destroyed by them, as I was expected would happen. Over here, we are dropping a debuff with our Lore of Metal. You know what? Let's actually go over our Lore of Metal real quick, because I don't bring these often, and I think only Balthazar Gelt and the Chaos can even bring Metal. So I don't see it often, which is why I brought it. We have the spells of, well, let's just go over this. Metal Shifting, so map-wide, everything gets bonus armor-piercing damage, which is going to be useful against Graveguard. We have a Bombardment spell of Searing Doom. We have a Final Transmutation, which is kind of like a Spirit Leech, but I think it costs, like, double, and is also weaker, I believe. We also have Gehenna's Golden Hounds. I'm not going to use it, but it is a Vortex spell, and it looks pretty cool. It's just a bunch of Golden Hounds kind of jumping up from the ground and chomping on people. It's a cool looking spell, but not super effective. We also have Glittering Robe, which is going to increase an ally's leadership and armor. You can overcast it to increase the armor to 30, I think, but still just on a single target. We have Plague of Rust, which kind of does the same thing, but in reverse. We have the Transmutation of Lead, which is what I'm dropping right now in a wide area. You can buff it to cast at 17 cost and negate their melee attack by 58, I think. So that's a pretty good debuff. And then we have Arcane Conduit because of the Chaos Sorcerer. So that's what I'm casting here. Is it not going to cast? Wait, what? Maybe I cast it later. I thought I was casting it right now. That's weird. But you can see my Chaos Warriors. I try to reinforce them with some Chaos Warhounds to apply poison damage. So that's what's going on over there. This is really weird. Maybe I just missed it. I did cast it over here at one point. Huh. Weird. Sigvald, who was hit with a lot of Spirit Leeches, is now left alone, but is duking it out with the Cryptors and the Graveguard. There goes the Bombardment spell because I wanted to give it a shot, but it didn't do much damage. And back here, my Chaos Warriors are going to get hit with the Fate of Beauties spell, and that's just going to seal their fate over there. Meanwhile, over here, the Black Orcs are still holding strong against all of these Graveguard. We also still have the Orc Shaman. The Night Goblins are still around. Their Doomdiver Catapults are getting routed by these Black Knights currently. And my Hell Cannon was routed at this point. My ally actually ignored the Hell Cannon for a long time, which is a good call. Let's go over what the Hell Cannon did real quickly. So the Hell Cannon fired 13 shots, and I watched the replay watching what the Hell Cannon was doing. It got 2 kind of okay shots on the Graveguard that it was firing at, which is why they only had 22 losses by the time they were fighting against my Chaos Warriors. And then they got 1 good solid hit. I switched targets because I was tired of them missing. They got 1 good solid hit against the clump of infantry here, which actually got a lot of kills against the zombies and some against the Graveguard. It was a beautiful shot. Because if we look at the Hell Cannon, real quick again. It's so annoying to try and get... There we go. So their missile damage, you only get 1 for 1200. So we have 260 armor piercing, 80 missile damage, but on top of that, in explosive damage, we have 200 additional armor piercing and 80 explosives. So if it hits target, that's a lot of damage. The problem is, and again I watched it, it only hits once very solid and does a great amount of damage, but the other 2 or 3 hits, it's almost misses. and then it straight up misses 9 others. So didn't really do too much for me in this battle. Just wanted to point that out. I think the Hell Cannon is overpriced and is not that amazing, and I wanted to test it out again, and it showed that it wasn't. So over here, Prince Sigvald is about to drop to these Cryptors and Graveguard, and Manfred von Karstein and the Vampire are assaulting my Chaos Sorcerer, and they are routing him at this point. Over here, this clump of infantry was wiped up by our Forsaken, and the Giant is just cleaning them up. I'm bringing my Forsaken over here to try and assist against this fight. But yeah, when Sigvald drops and the Chaos Sorcerer is routed, that they dropped this Doom and Darkness spell, which is a great timing for it. Great timing. Because it instantly routs these Chaos Warriors who are at still almost full strength and full numbers. So what happened here, and we're going to look at this leadership. Lord recently died, hits you with a -16, and that takes a while to fade away. Discouraged by ability is the Doom or Darkness, -16, and they are currently frightened because of, Crypt Horrors. Also look at the faster and stronger enemies nearby. This is a trait or a thing that I didn't really notice until a couple days ago when I was just randomly watching a replay and I saw this. So this stacks in a series of -4s as far as I can tell. I'm not 100% how it works because sometimes it's there and sometimes it isn't. But from what I gathered, it is a debuff that you get to your leadership because of monstrous creatures against infantry. I've tried to study it. Again, sometimes it disappears even when they're fighting against monstrous infantry, but then it reapplies when there are more around your infantry. So that's something you gotta watch out about, because I wasn't really thinking about that. And it stacks, because it goes in -4, -8, and I think eventually one of my units gets -12 because of all the Cryptors that are around. And it's a big deal, so just watch out for that, because I didn't know about it until recently. But yeah, the Doom of Darkness is what finishes their leadership off, so they're actually going to rout here. And you can see the rest of my force crumbles, because Sigvald was murdered and my leader was routed. So what forces that I have left, I'm going to try and devote to try and help out my ally here, whose Black Orcs are still killing it. Doing super well against all these Graveguard. Azag is doing super well, but they don't have much left except for what's in this clump. And it was really funny. What happened here is that the Black Orcs did so good against the Spearmen that they dug themselves into this hole where they are now currently surrounded. So that's going to kind of affect their leadership a little bit. I thought that was kind of funny. These Savage Orc Boys come back from routing, and they're going to get a nice recharge here. Yeah! Rear charge. So yeah, my units are going to be pulling back over here. A couple of them are going to come back, but unfortunately my Chaos Sorcerer gets chased by the Vampire and is not allowed to come back, so that was good on them for chasing him off. And yeah, I have really nothing left over there. So again, we're just trying to clean up this opponent. Bringing in the Warhouse for some poison damage. Trying to keep up their weapon strength. We have a Spirit Leech that is dropped on Azag, and that is actually going to bring him down to almost death. And this is going to make him rout. As you can see there. My units have come back over here, so I'm going to try and bring them into this fight to try and finish off these Vampire counts that refuse to die. And then this Chaos Warrior comes back from running as well, but they have a long way to run because this opponent is now coming over here to assist their ally. And Chaos Warrior is not that fast. Crypt Horrors are. And you see the Giant up here trying to fight against the Black Knights, and they were trying to catch Manfred, but Manfred was able to escape. Over here we have the Doom and Darkness being dropped on the Black Orcs, but their leadership is going to hold. And here comes a rear charge from our Trolls and our Forsaken. So yeah, again, at this point, this is all I really have left. And I'm looking at the map at this point in the battle, and I'm like, oh man, we don't have much at all, but we still have a leader. That's something. We still have a leader. We still have this group of Black Orcs. If we can hold, maybe a miracle can happen. Manfred then comes in and crushes our dreams because he charges this Shaman, and it's going to bring their leadership low enough so that they rout. And that's going to cause a chain rout of everybody else around them. And so then they're all going to break. And that then is then going to get this Giant to rout as well. So that charge from Manfred broke our backs at that point, and the only thing left is our Chaos Spawn. And they're going to try and fight to the bitter end, but everything else has shattered, or broken at this point. They're about to shatter. They drop a Fate of Buna on these Orc Boys. I'm assuming they meant to drop it on my Chaos Spawn, since these people are already routing and they just misclicked, I'm guessing. Because there's no point to drop it on those Orc boys. Here we have aspect of the Dread Knight. Trying to buff their leadership and cause terror. You can't cause terror against Chaos Spawn, they are immune to it. But it still buffs your leadership. And they're going to fight to the bitter end. Come on, Sigvald's Beauties. Fight! Earn your keep. Do it! I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think they're going to win it for us at this point. And they drop. A valiant defeat indeed. Let's go over the kills. So this was a bloody one. There were a lot of bodies in this map, and it shows with the kills. So Chaos Spawn got a lot of kills. My Hell Cannon, even though it missed all of its shots, the one solid shot it got is where most of these kills came from, which is insane. Insane. But overall, I think it is not worth the 1,200 in cost. Forsaken getting a lot of kills, except for this group, which is probably fighting against Crypt Horrors. Sigvald, unfortunately, got Spirit Leeched almost to death, so by the time they got into combat, they weren't able to really do much. Also, Sigvald is a duelist, so they don't do much area damage. They're most focused on one-on-ones, but the Vampire Count's heroes were all in the air, so there's not much Sigvald can do in that situation. Chaos Sorcerer didn't get any kills, but the only thing that it dropped was one bombardment spell, but again, offensive spells in this game look really pretty, but rarely do much, except for in specific situations. My Marauders did decent, but those are probably against zombies, and Warhounds did okay, but again, most of those were against zombies and Crypt Ghouls. My opponent here, the Graveguard with great weapons. Again, that is what I was worried about, because I needed my Chaos Warriors with halberds to shut down the Crypt Horrors. It was my only answer. But unfortunately, the Hell Cannon did not come through, and this one was shut down by my Leaders dying and that Doom and Darkness spell, which was really good. And then Fate Up Yuna and these Graveguards shut down my Chaos Warriors. Before the Graveguard hit, they were doing a lot of damage to one of the Crypt Horrors, but they got shut down too quickly. So these Crypt Horrors, I didn't really have much of an answer to. The Black Knights did really well, got a ton of kills as well with rear charges, and they were going up against, I think they got some kills on my Warhounds and the Night Goblins, and just rear charges in general, so that was really good. The other opponent, we did manage to at least wipe their army out, but in the end, it didn't matter. Let's see, as far as unit kills go, Skeletal Spearmen did pretty good. Crypt Ghouls did pretty good as well. The Black Knights here did really well in shutting down the Savage Orc Boar Boys by getting the charge off before the Boar Boys could respond. So they shut down the only cav that my ally had, which is really good. And then they were able to do rear charges on the infantry, which is really good. They shut down the Doom Diver catapults and the Night Goblins as well. So they all did really good. Manfred did pretty good as well on the Dragon. And then my ally, Azag, 105 kills. Orc Boys, tons of kills. Black Orcs, 278. Oh my gosh. When you throw Skeletal Spearmen against the Black Orcs, they're going to have a field day, and the Graveguard, for that matter. Even the Night Goblins got a decent amount of kills before they were killed by the Black Knights. Again, the Savage Orc Boar Boys didn't get to do that much, unfortunately. The Goblin Wolf Chariot got shut down as well by, I believe, the Knights, and they only got 2 kills. It is an anti-infantry, technically. It's stat, we'll go over that. It's stats and why I think you don't see them that often. Doom Diver's getting an amazing amount of kills, which is great. Giant getting an amazing amount of kills as well. So a very high kill game all around, which is nice to see. All right, so let's go over some units. First, since it's fresh in my mind, let's go over that chariot, because I haven't really looked at it that much. So I don't think it's that great. So it costs 600. Let's see its stats. You get 6 of them in a unit. Their missile damage is kind of high, but again, you only have 6, so that's overall not that much damage really. Their range is 110. They have a decent amount of ammunition. The charge bonus is 30. Their base stats are terrible in melee. Their weapon strength, they do have a bonus of 10 against infantry, so... But, like, they're such a small mass because they're pulled by wolves. Man, I don't know what this would be good against. Like, goblins, very small units would probably be good against. Its missile damage, I don't think is going to do that much because there's just so few people actually shooting bows. Yeah, I don't know. It can maybe do pretty well against gunners and crossbows, maybe. I don't think it's going to do super well against an actual infantry force of, like, swords and spears. I don't know. I'll have to test that out some more. But anyway, the vampire counts. Something I wanted to talk about was what you can do to fight them in the air. Because as you saw, I had no answer to the air. And besides bringing heroes on flying mounts, the only real answer you have are marauder horsemen. And they're not going to do jack nothing. Like, these things might as well not even be here as far as I'm concerned. But again, this game was actually played before the patch hit, so maybe by now, by the time you're seeing this, Marauder Horsemen are amazing. I don't know. Hopefully they are, because I want them to be worth it. But besides those, the only way to answer the air of Manfred von Karstein on a Hellsteed or a Dragon, and then vampires on their Hellsteeds as well, is your Exalted Hero brought on a Manticore. You can see I already set it up here. So on a Manticore, they're going to be costing 1,400, which is going to be 100 cheaper than a Vampire on their Hellsteeds. The thing is, though, the Vampire's melee stats are still better off. They do have a lower weapon strength, but overall they are still better off than the Exalted Hero on the Hellsteed, I believe. Yeah, so their melee attack here is 45. The Vampire has, 60? And they have, I think, about the same melee defense. The Vampire has a higher charge bonus. I think they have the same armor and about the same speed. Also, what's going on for the Vampire is that they have access to the Lore of Death, which is going to be able to hit your flying heroes with the Spirit Leech. Now, the Exalted Hero does have access to Foe Seeker and Deadly Onslaught, so with the weapon strength, I'm wondering, I haven't tested it, but I'm wondering if the Exalted Hero on their Manticore can take out a Vampire before the Spirit Leech does its damage. And maybe if they get a really good charge off, it's possible, but it's going to be very expensive to bring an Exalted Hero on the Manticore just to fight off the Vampire. And you may be fighting against two of them, and of course Manfred in this guy as well. And the only other option really is to bring just a Chaos Lord mounted on a Chaos Dragon, but that's going to be 1,750. And your Chaos Lord has no access to any type of magic and does not even have the Foe Seeker or the Deadly Onslaught ability as well to help them out in the sky. Their melee stats are also worse than the Vampires. Their armor is about half on their Flying Steed. I guess you can maybe go with the Manticore. At least that has higher armor. I'm not sure if the fire attack would do anything against the Vampire. I don't think she has a fire weakness. Yeah. I don't think that would really give you necessarily an edge. Doesn't even say anything here. Here we go. Inflicts flaming attacks, which can do additional damage against units that are vulnerable to fire. This would do something against Crypt Horrors, which we'll talk about in a moment. But yeah, so to bring a counter to the Vampire's Air, I think it's going to be really expensive, and I don't know if it's going to work. But that's really your only option against them if you want to fight them in the air. Besides that, let's go over the Crypt Horrors again. So, if you want to win against the Vampire counts, what I think you're going to have to do, I didn't do it here because I wanted to bring the Metal Sorcerer because you never see them, but you probably want to bring a Chaos Sorcerer of Fire because against Vampire counts, there's a good chance you're going up against Crypt Horrors. They're just such a good unit, unless that changed in the patch, which hasn't hit yet, but as of right now, they're an amazing unit. You're always going to see them because they're super solid. It's just the amount of them will change depending on which opponent you're fighting. But anyway, the Crypt Horrors are very weak to fire because of this regeneration. They have a 20% flame weakness to fire. So if you bring a Chaos Sorcerer of Fire, he also applies a map-wide weakness of 12% to everything. So that's a 32% weakness that the Crypt Horrors are going to have against your spells of the Flame Storm, or your Piercing Bolts of Burning, or the Burning Head, which also applies the Leadership debuff, which is pretty cool. Like, I haven't tested it, but I'm assuming the Piercing Bolts are going to be your best bet. Drop them on the Crypt Horrors with your Fire Lord, and maybe that's going to do something. You can also bring Archeon, who is also a Fire Wizard on top of all the other things he is. He's an amazing opponent, but he costs a lot. So yeah, that's going to be something you probably want to bring against Vampire counts, is the Sorcerer of Fire. And besides that, I think that's all I really wanted to talk about. So yeah, good game to my opponents and my ally. It was a fun one. I enjoy losses because I get to study the replays and see why I lost. Some mistakes that I made was bringing the Hell Cannon. No, it is kind of not the greatest. But I probably shouldn't have split up my force to assist my ally. I shouldn't have used that Forsaken, the Spawn, and the Troll on the right side. I probably should have used them to buff up my mid line against all those Graveguard. That maybe would have changed the outcome of the battle, but I think even with those, we probably still would have been overcome because my leaders were sniped, and we would have broken anyway because of our lack of leadership and the terror of the vampire counts. Besides that, I'm not sure what else I could have used with this theme of Sigvald's Beauties. It was going to be a hard match, and poor Sigvald. Poor Sigvald, he has no answer. He just had to watch the vampires in the sky rain spirit leeches on him, and he's just like, man, dang it. But he still eked out 8 kills even after getting dropped with spirit leeches. But it's still a fun build. I like the theme of Sigvald's monsters. I don't know what I would really change about it. I'd probably nix the Hell Cannon and maybe bring a Gorby's Chariot just because it's drawn by beasts, so it kind of fits the theme of the, you know, the pretties, the beauties. I don't know. Maybe I'll test it out some more, but I do like the theme. I think it fits Prince Sigvald, right? Because he's all beautiful and stuff, and I don't know. But anyway, again, good game to every my opponents and my ally, and I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you all next time. Take care.